When do you think, just, and I don't know if I've ever asked you this, when do you think you knew you wanted to be a business person, entrepreneur, or to have your own thing, your own creation? Do you remember when that was?
I think I've always known that.
Yeah.
I think I was probably 6.
I was sitting here thinking about that. I was like, I don't know when it clicked. I'm not sure. It just was always there.
The oldest memory I have of anything business related per se is I drew a picture of a deer with markers, and at the bottom of the picture, instead of signing it, I drew a circle and wrote like 5 cents, and and sold it to my uncle. And that's when he started. That was the first time he talked to me about anything business. He's like, "Oh, you should do this professionally one day. You should be an artist." Awesome. And then he, after that point, he's always talking to me about business every week.
Yeah.
Little bits, But then, and I think also, like, I remember when I have another memory of when I was really young, because it was in our old house, so it was pre 8 years old. I remember beating on a bucket, like playing the drums, and I was like, man, I want to be like a famous person one day or something, or just be really successful.
Right.
And then, later on in life, I'm not sure if your parents would say things to you like this, but they would say, "Oh, wait till you get in the real world," or or life's not easy, or all these things. And I was like, well, that sounds like a shitty deal. I was like, I don't want to sign up for that deal.
I don't want any part of that.
And so I think even when I was in high school, I remember like I worked when I was 16, I started working at a furniture factory, and I would see how many hours I could work in a week to see how much money I could make in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And in the summertime, I'd come in some days at like 6 in the morning and work till like 11 at night, and we made like $6 an hour or something.
Yeah.
So, but I would make. I mean, I could clear like almost $600 in 2 weeks, working a shitty job.
Yeah.
And I was like, and that was a lot of money when you're in high school.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So I feel like I've always been very ambitious, and I don't mind. I like working. So
yeah, and I tried that too, and I think that this was this self-defeating process that you and I figured out is that I was doing some version of that. So at 14, we were allowed to work. The state says, oh, you're allowed to work, I think 20 hours or 15 hours. I can't remember what it was. So so I got that in, and then I figured out maybe I could do other things that weren't necessarily employed by other people. I was out doing things myself. An example, I wasn't doing this, but an example might be mowing a lawn, right, on the side, in addition to your job. But as I aged, I started doing the same thing. I was, working RBC Centura during the day. At night, from 10 o'clock to 4 o'clock in the morning, I was working at UPS. And then I was trying to figure out, I've got this amount of time. Yeah. What else can I fit in for a few hours, right, so that I can try and make more money? But this self-defeating process became you don't have enough time to make the money you need to make. So what you've got to do is figure out all these experiences and try to figure out a way to take control of the time so that you're not exchanging dollars for hours, literally, because that's what we were doing. Yeah. It's just dollars for hours.
Yeah, that's it. And, and you only have so many hours.
Yeah, and you work one time, you get paid one time.
Right. Yeah.
If you create a good business, you work one time, you might be able to get paid forever.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, or good art or whatever.
Yeah, good art. Yeah, exactly.
And I think in business, one of the big keys, if you want to be very successful in business, I think you have to find ways to duplicate your efforts.
Yeah, definitely.
You create something, you get it to function properly and run smoothly, and then you start to hire people to run that thing for you.
Yeah.
And that way you still watch it, you still make sure it's operating properly, but then you can move your time somewhere else.
That's right.
And do that same thing with something else.
Yeah.
And just keep reproducing that same
yeah
activity. And then with art, it's a little different because it takes your time to create something. Like if I write something, it takes my time to write it. But, that could, a screenplay could turn into a graphic novel.
That's right.
And then could be sold to millions of people.
Yep.
Or it could be turned into a film, which could go to millions of people,
That's
and
right.
then you get residual from that. So, I mean, even those things, you still look at it the same way. Like, how can I duplicate this product?
Definitely. A good piece of art. They're going to make prints of it.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
There's definitely ways to monetize anything, and whatever someone's art is, whatever their thing is, I think there's definitely ways to monetize it and, and move forward. But that process, figuring that out, was eye-opening for me, because I can't work 24 hours a day, but in theory, my money can, my business can, my art can.
Right. Yeah.
These other things can, but I physically can't, because I've got to go to sleep at some point, and you got to have a life at some point.
Yeah. It goes back to the thing, like, you don't do it for the money, but the money shows you that what you're doing has value to it.
That's right. That's right.
Because, I mean, I could paint a painting, and it could be okay.
Right. Yeah.
Nobody's going to buy it, but if I spend 10,000 hours painting paintings,
Oh yeah.
then it would be really good, and people would really buy it. But you have to put in that effort too to make it valuable.
100%.
Yeah.
I think it's almost an insult for you to get rewarded without the effort.
Yeah. Like with writing. I mean, that most recent screenplay that I wrote, I spent hundreds of hours on that thing probably.
Yeah.
You know, in all the rewrites.
Yeah.
I know one weekend I spent 40 hours just between Friday and Sunday writing. That's all I did. I was like, I'm just going to write. So I would write, and I would probably write for like 4 or 5 hours, eat some food, write again.
Yeah.
And then sleep, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, if you got rewarded, so let's take a child. You know, you reward a child for effort, right? For the attempt to do something, right? To encourage it. The problem is if you do that with an adult, like if they get unfairly rewarded without the sacrifice, without the effort, without the time, I almost feel like it's a disservice to them, but I feel like they're going to feel like it's a disservice. Like almost like I didn't earn this. Whereas if you put the time into it, right? Like I can speak to the value of whatever my thing is, my product or service, right? The thing that I'm passionate about. And the passion is going to come through because I've committed and I've sacrificed so much of my life to chase that endeavor, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that also helps create a value for the other person that's going to they work hard, they exchange their time for money, right, in some way. And they're going to give you some of their money, which essentially they're giving you some of their time,
right? Because
they value what you've done. And I think that process is cheapened if someone's unfairly rewarded, right? And so, like you said, if you just painted something today, or you drew something today, I'd say you do a much better the job than I would. But at the same point, if you're compared against somebody that has the 10,000 hours in, the art is probably not going to look anywhere close to the same.
No way. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll buy that guy's art.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you yours, hey, man, good job. You did better than I am, and I'm going to buy his.
Right.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, that's cute, man.
Dude, good job,
nice.
man.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Glad you could do that.
There is, though, the thing about, like, natural skill over somebody that doesn't have it. Like, I've seen
that's
plenty
true.
of people that put,
Yeah.
like, hundreds of hours into something that still looks like shit. And I've seen somebody that put in, like, 5 or 10, and
Yeah.
it's brilliant.
Yeah, you have to decide if it's something you're talented at.
Yeah.
And generally,
Right.
there's a lot of something behind that, like
Yeah.
years of work and knowing how to do it and,
Yes,
and all
yeah.
that kind of stuff,
Oh, yeah.
for sure.
I think there's definitely some natural talent, and it's easy for me to make the analogy and the comparison to sports. You know, there might be people out there that are naturally athletic or naturally gifted or naturally better at putting the ball in the basket, right? But they still have to work on the craft, right? Because they're not going to know. Yeah. They've still got to work on fundamentals and work on the craft. They may be naturally talented and start from a higher point,
Right.
But I feel like, and like you're saying with the artist, if you've got that natural gift for it and you don't put the work in, man,
you're never going to
worthless.
master it.
You're absolutely
you're
worthless.
And I see a lot of people do that. There's
Yeah.
a lot of people that have incredible talents, and they don't use them. I think there's a fear aspect to that too. Also, I've seen some incredibly talented people that could easily be very successful at whatever they're talented at, but as soon as they start to pursue it, they run into something else because they're afraid of it. It's like I think they can almost see like, oh, I might be really, really good at this.
Right.
I may be really successful at this. But man, maybe I should do something else because I'm kind of scared of that.
Yeah, and maybe
it's like they get overwhelmed with their ability.
Yeah, and I think sometimes too, I think they get lost in that dream and they take it so far down the future of what all it could be, and maybe that's part of what you're talking about. It becomes overwhelming.
Maybe, yeah, something. It's a strange phenomenon. I've seen it happen to a few people.
Yeah, and maybe they're their own. I always tell people on some level they're their own worst enemy, right?
Yeah.
Because nobody's going to beat you like you, right?
Right.
And I've had people that I felt like, for whatever reason, they've got all the makings of being great, but for some reason they make a different decision. They just choose not to go down that path, and I always wonder what that was like.
It's got to be fear.
Yeah,